Hello everyone, this is my review of the Audiolab 6000A integrated amplifier and my opinion on how it compares to the similarly priced, maybe slightly less expensive Rega Brio integrated. The 6000A retails for $1,200 USD from retailers like Crutchfield, Audio Advisor, etc. I've seen them listed for even $1,000 USD on some sites that I'm not too familiar with. So I urge you to do some research, exercise some caution on return policies in case of defects, etc. if you decide to go that route. The Brio sells for $1,000 USD, $995 USD. You normally don't see the Brios discounted unless the retailer is selling open box, demo or used models. The 6000A amplifier is a class AB integrated. It outputs about 50 watts at 8 ohms, 75 watts at 4 ohms. It houses a substantial 200 volt ampere toroidal transformer with a total of 60,000 microfarad total capacitance banks, which all helps the amp to maintain firm control of your speaker, thus contributing to the fidelity of the source signals of what the artist or the recording has intended. Doesn't quite specify stability at lower impedances like some would claim at 2 ohms. But to be fair, neither does the Rega Brio. Both the Audiolab 6000A and the Rega Brio were able to drive speakers like the KEF R3 that dips down to 3 ohm impedances to moderate levels in large space listening room. So while the Audiolab 6000 remained cool at those heavy current draws and low impedances, the Brio was getting a bit warm. Not something of concern, but it was getting reasonably warm to touch. So it's best to use adequate ventilation if you're considering this amplifier. The Audiolab website says that the 6000A's preamp section is kept as simple as possible to maintain signal purity. Also, that a lot of effort was spent on the physical layout of the 6000A's internal guts and circuitry in order to shield the sensitive preamp from noise. Part of the preamp is a precision analog volume stage, which covers minus 80 dB to plus 8 dB in steps of 2 dB and 1 dB. So precise volume adjustments are possible with even the remote. With the Brio, Rega has also designed the internal circuitry with some thought. It has dedicated power supplies to provide isolation between the output stage and the line stage, the phono sections. The Brio also features a high-quality Alps volume potentiometer that accurately matches left and right channels to ensure preserving the fidelity of the original signal. The volume control, though, via the remote on the Brio is a bit jumpy. So if you want finer volume adjustments, it should be done by hand. Specs-wise for the Audiolab 6000A, or feature-wise, I should say, we have a built-in 32-bit DAC based on the superb ES9018 chipset, Sabre chipset. Digital connections offer 2 optical, 2 coaxial digital inputs, 5 stereo RCA inputs, including a moving magnet phono input. There's a stereo preamp out, a power amp in, so this integrated can be used as a standalone preamp or standalone power amp as well. The Brio is a simpler affair. It's purely an analog integrated amp. Like the 6000A, it's also a Class B topology amplifier, but it cannot be used as a preamp or power amp. So also no digital to analog converter included here, but it includes a solid moving magnet phono stage and 4 inputs for line stage. Similar power output rating of 50 and 73 watts, I think, into 8 and 4 ohms respectively. I'll post a video card or a link up here for my older Rega Brio video which describes the amp in a little more detail. So I've had the 6000A for a couple of months now, and I've listened to it quite a bit. Matched it with a large variety of speakers. The B&W 606 S2s, Dali Oberon 3s, Kef LS50 Metas, the Kef R3s, Vandersteen 2CEs, and even the big and mighty but older Matrix B&W 801 Series 2. So how does the Audiolab sound, and how does it compare to the Rega? For the comparison, I have tried to level match as much as I could using an SPL meter and noting the attenuation reading on the OLED screen of the 6000A and marking the dial position with a sticky tape on the Brio faceplate. Also, these are my subjective opinions and thoughts on how they sound in my system and in my listening environment, which is a large space of perhaps 1100 square feet. But I think it will give you a good idea to help you in your decision if you're trying to choose between these two amps. Okay, first using the 6000A as an integrated amp and using the built-in DAC streaming from the Blue Sound Node streamer. I really like the 6000A's built-in DAC. Listening to Avishai Cohen's Big Vicious band via Qobuz, the track is called Teardrop. This is a redo of the original Massive Attack track, and this is their jazz interpretation of the trip-hop classic. This album is in 24-bit 82.2 kilohertz sampling rate, high-res format, and the cool thing is that the Audiolab displays and verifies the sampling rate for a second or for a couple of seconds on the central OLED display. Opening bass line on this track from the drum and bass is impactful. The guitar is clear, very good detail retrieval. The super smooth trumpet and guitar licks are crisp. Same album, another track, it's titled Moonlight Sonata. Again, another interpretation of the very popular Beethoven classic. Here the same detailed smooth trumpet and clean guitar tones are showcased. Drumming and cymbal taps are very clean and very detailed sounding, veering slightly on the cool side of neutral, meaning no added warmth in the high frequencies. Soundstage definition was good in locating performers and instruments both in width and depth layers. Same tracks on the Brio using an outboard DAC, the Peachtree iDAC, and feeding it into the line stage of the Brio. The sound turned a bit thicker, punchier, richer bass, denser tone in guitar licks, and the high frequency sounded sweeter and lusher, still managing to capture the air, not rolled off. It just sounded sweeter and lusher. But the sound stage was not as well defined as the 6000A. You still got a sense of space in the width and the depth, but the location of the individual performers and instrument images via the Brio overlapped. There was still decent imaging, but diffuse compared to the 6000A. Switching to LPs using the built-in phono of the Audiolab 6000A. The turntable used was my Pioneer PLX 1000 direct drive with an Audiophile 2M black cartridge, very carefully and precisely mounted. Let's talk about this album. It's Deep Purple's Perfect Strangers. First track, Knocking at Your Back Door. Roger Glover's big bass begins the track, almost immediately enters from center stage. John Lord's keyboards punching out that catchy rhythm and the bass plucking after that. And then Richie Blackmore's guitar riffs and Ian Gillan's vocals fill the stage. Decent imaging, but thin sounding. Here also the cymbal work and the crashes sounded sort of one note without conveying any texture. I couldn't get myself to listen to the whole album. So I switched to different familiar albums, and I was feeling a bit let down here using the included moving magnet. So I used an outboard phono stage. Enter the iFi Zen phono, review coming soon, into the aux1 line input of the 6000A. And now things sounded a lot better. Good tone, density, dynamics, and resolution across the spectrum was restored. So I concluded to myself that the built-in phono stage in the Audiolab 6000A was just so-so. And it's just there, I suppose. It simply didn't do as well as the performance using the built-in DAC, the 6000A. Now, switching to the Rega Brio, I began the same Deep Purple LP via the Brio's built-in moving magnet phono stage. Again, remember, I'm talking about making this comparison with SPL matching, the best level match that I could possibly do. That big bass synth at the beginning of the track sounded fuller with texture and better dynamics. Richie Blackmore's guitar picks and riffs, they now started having meat around the bones, if you like that analogy. And Ian Pace's drumming was solid with texture, and the cymbals and slam in the bass. Cymbal taps were sweeter sounding. The execution of the phono stage and the line stage of the Brio just sounds less clinical and more musical, with denser images when compared to the Audiolab 6000A. So in conclusion, guys, if the max you'd like to spend is about 1K, a maximum of 1200 USD on an integrated amplifier, here's my honest take on the two integrated amps. If you're primarily going to be streaming music and not playing records, spending your audio budget, spending your cash on the Audiolab makes more sense. The 6000A's built-in DAC is superb. I mean, you could get an outboard DAC to the Brio because of the price difference, but you'd be spending more money on the outboard DAC, and you may get a fuller sound. But now we're crossing the 1200 USD price limit, and we're going up to 1400 to 1600 at least. Again, the 6000A's built-in DAC is superb. Overall presentation is a bit on the leaner side, cooler side. Not much of warmth per se, but still very good. If you listen mainly to digital using a streamer, you may gravitate to the 6000A. Now, on the other hand, if you primarily listen to records and you use a moving magnet or a high output moving coil, like say the Dynavector 10X5, that has about a 2 millivolt output, this is no contest. The Brio's built-in phono is superb. It is tonally richer sounding and really brings out the drama and dynamics to the sonics when listening to records. The Brio is absolutely my choice for $1,000 since my collection is primarily LPs. You should visit your local hi-fi dealer and ask if they have these models as demos for you to hear them. Hear them in action if you can before spending the money. If you are in Southeast Michigan or in the Toledo area, go visit No Noise Hi-Fi. Rob is a really nice guy and knows his stuff. Rob owns and operates No Noise Hi-Fi. He has the Rega Brio setup for you to sit down and listen. Make your decision after that, if possible. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video of the Audiolab 6000A and its comparison to the Brio. Please like, subscribe, and share, as it will help my channel grow. I have a few speaker reviews coming out. The Rega Kites is one of them, and a few other phono stages reviews coming out as well. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. See you soon.